Welcome to Dreamora Night, everyone. The place where we come together to listen, to unwind, and to drift gently into that sweet, peaceful sleep we all crave. I'm Daniel, your host tonight, and oh, how grateful I am that you've chosen to spend this quiet evening with us. Thank you so much for being here. Good evening, beautiful souls, and welcome back. Oh, can you feel it already? Tonight we're soaring way up, high above the messy, beautiful mortal world, straight into a realm where thunder cracks like a heartbroken promise, where prophecy hangs in the air like storm clouds, where jealousy burns hotter than lightning and fate. Oh, fate just laughs at us all. We're stepping into the wild, dangerous, heartbreaking world of the ancient Greek gods. And I am so glad you're here with me. We're going to wander through the stories of the glorious Olympians, the terrifying titans who came before them, and all those tangled, messy, passionate relationships that literally shaped heaven and earth. Can you imagine? Love affairs that birthed monsters, betrayals that cracked open the sky itself. These are the myths of creation: raw power, impossible love, gut-wrenching vengeance, and everything wild in between. Honestly, my heart is racing just thinking about it. So tell me, truly, where in the world are you curled up listening tonight? What time does the clock say where you are? Are you tucked under blankets, letting the sound of soft, distant thunder rock you towards sleep? Or are you stealing a quiet moment for yourself while the house is finally still? Wherever you are, this time is yours, all yours, and I'm so honored to share it with you. Because here we go. In the beginning, there was nothing. Nothing. Not even emptiness as we know it. No sky, no sea, no breeze kissing your cheek, no heartbeat of time itself. Can you even picture that kind of silence? Just boundless, yawning darkness, heavy with possibility. Chaos. Not scary chaos, but the kind that holds its breath, waiting, pregnant with every single thing that would ever be. And then, oh then, from that impossible stillness, the very first presences stirred, like the first thought flickering in a dream you're not ready to wake from. They didn't come slowly, the way babies do. They didn't cry or gasp for air. They simply were, sudden and complete. Each one the living heartbeat of something essential. First came Gaia, our Earth herself, vast, heavy, fertile, the eternal mother who would hold every footstep, every mountain, every trembling leaf. Can you feel her under your bare feet right now? She was there first, solid and patient and ancient. Then, rising beside her like a nightmare you can't look away from, came Tartarus, the bottomless pit, blacker than anything you've ever imagined, already waiting to become the prison of gods. And from that same swirling darkness stepped Eros, sweet, dangerous Eros, the ache of desire, the pull that makes hearts and atoms crash together. After him drifted Nyx, night herself, wrapping the brand new world in velvet wings so soft you want to cry, and her brother lover Erebus trailing behind like living shadow. Doesn't that give you chills? Out of this raw, formless dream, the universe started stretching and yawning. Not because anyone told it to, but the way a seed cracks open underground, even when there's no promise of sun. And Gaia, oh, proud, powerful Gaia, she reached inside herself and gave birth to the sky. Uranus, vast and star-drunk, arching over her like the most beautiful ceiling the world would ever know. He was her equal, her lover, her creation, and together they made the very first love story of earth and sky. Can you feel the romance of that? The tenderness? From their embrace exploded 12 magnificent, terrifying children, the Titans, 6 sons and 6 daughters, each one more breathtaking and fearsome than the last. Listen to their names roll like distant thunder. Oceanus, endless circling rivers. Coeus, intellect sharp as starlight. Crius, mysterious and far away. Hyperion, blazing father of the sun himself. Iapetus, ancestor of mortal suffering. And Cronus, O Cronus, youngest, cleverest, eyes like winter steel and ambition burning behind them. And the sisters, radiant Thea, regal Rhea, who would one day be queen. Wise Themis, who carried law in her bones. Mnemosyne, who is memory itself. Shining Phoebe of prophecy. And gentle Tethys, mother of every river that ever sang. But Gaia and Uranus didn't stop there. No, they also created things too wild, too ancient, for the light of day. From the deepest folds of Gaia's body came the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants with arms thick as ancient oaks and eyes that blazed like forges. And worse, far worse, the Hecatonchires, the 100-handed ones, each with 50 heads and 100 storm-lashing arms. Can you even imagine looking up and seeing that? And Uranus? He took one look at these children and felt only disgust, only fear. Unnatural, he called them. Monstrous. So he did the unthinkable. He shoved them back inside their mother, forcing them down into the black throat of Tartarus, burying them alive inside Gaia's own body. Can you hear her scream inside your bones right now? The agony of a mother betrayed. Gaia, the patient earth we walk on every day, groaned under the weight of her imprisoned children. Her belly ached, her veins split open with pain, and the love she once felt for Uranus curdled into something cold and furious. Deep in the dark, her buried baby screamed, and her rage smoldered like embers under ash. She was done begging. She was ready for blood. In the silence of her pain, she called to her Titan sons, whispering, pleading, "Who among you will free me? Who will punish the sky for what he's done?" And every single one of them trembled, terrified of the father who stretched over everything. Everyone except Cronus, the youngest, the sharpest, the one who never flinched. He stepped forward and said yes. And Gaia, grim and proud and heartbroken all at once, forged him a sickle of hardest adamant, cold, curved, hungry for divine blood. Picture it, one starlit evening, Uranus descending to make love to the earth again, completely unaware, completely arrogant. Cronus, hidden like a predator, leaps out, and with one savage, perfect swing, severs his father's manhood. The sky screamed, blood and foam rained down, and Uranus fled upward forever, cursing his son with his dying breath. You too will be betrayed by your own child, Cronus. The wheel turns, but Cronus only laughed, crowned himself in blood, and declared the age of the Titans had begun. And from that spilled blood and sea foam rose the most beautiful, most dangerous goddess of all, Aphrodite, born laughing, born deadly, born fully grown from salt and violence and desire. Doesn't that just break your heart and set it on fire at the same time? The world was so young, and already it knew betrayal, agony, ambition, prophecy, and it would know so much more. Because in a world where gods can bleed, where mothers plot in the dark, where sons can cut down their own fathers, well, darling, we're only getting started. Are you ready for what comes next? Because Cronus is king now, and the golden age is beautiful, but it's already cracking underneath. And somewhere, deep in a hidden cave, a baby with storm cloud eyes is waiting to grow up and tear the whole thing apart. But that's a story for just a few heartbeats from now. Oh, sweet listener, lean in closer, because now the story turns heartbreaking and fierce all at once. Can you feel the ache already? Then came Poseidon, the future lord of every wave and storm-tossed sea, swallowed whole before the word ocean even existed in any tongue. 5 immortal children, 5 radiant little gods, taken not in rage, not with screaming or blood, but with the cold, quiet cruelty of a father trying to outrun destiny itself. Each time Rhea's arms were emptied, her heart shattered a little more. Can you imagine holding your newborn, feeling that perfect weight for only a breath, and then watching it vanish forever into darkness? She wept, but silently, her tears swallowed by the echoing marble halls of Cronus's palace. Because screaming would have changed nothing. Her body grew thin, her eyes hollowed with shadows no amount of starlight could chase away, and inside, her womb lived only despair. Every single time she lay on the cold birthing stone, trembling, exhausted, terrified, she whispered down through the earth to Gaia, "Do you hear me, Mother? Do you feel this pain?" And Gaia, ancient and wounded herself, always listened from the deep places, from the roots and caverns where no light reached, and she plotted, quietly, patiently, the way only the earth knows how. By the 6th child, Rhea was done. Done begging, done breaking, done watching her babies disappear. Something fierce and desperate ignited in her chest. She slipped away in secret, heart pounding, to the very heart of Gaia's domain, where the soil itself remembered every betrayal ever committed. There, wrapped in darkness and the scent of turned earth, the 2 mothers, old and young, forged a plan born of pure, righteous defiance. When the moment came and her 6th child slid into the world, Rhea did not hand him over. Instead, she wrapped a smooth, heavy stone in swaddling clothes, still warm from her own body, and carried it back like it was the most precious thing she'd ever held. Cronus, blinded by habit, by dread, by his own monstrous certainty, never even looked closely. He opened his jaws and swallowed the stone whole, just like the others. The deception worked. Can you feel the triumph and terror in that moment? Meanwhile, far away on the wild island of Crete, a real baby boy with storm cloud eyes and a cry that rattled the mountains was hidden deep inside a secret cave. His name was Zeus, and every heartbeat he took was a countdown his father never heard. His cradle? A slab of living rock hung on golden chains from the branches of a sacred tree, so he would touch neither earth nor sky, completely invisible to Cronus's searching gaze. Around him danced the curettes, fierce armored youths who clashed swords against shields in a thunderous war dance, just to drown out the baby's cries. Imagine that lullaby, metal on metal, violence as love, protecting the tiny god who would one day tear the heavens apart. A magical goat named Amalthea nursed him with milk so rich and divine that one day her broken horn would become the cornucopia, overflowing with endless bounty. Nymphs bathed him in starlit water and sang him stories older than sorrow itself. And as Zeus grew, oh how he grew, strength poured into his bones like lightning into a rod, and behind those grey eyes waited the wrath of every storm the world had ever feared. They told him everything. How his brothers and sisters were swallowed alive, how a stone sat in their place inside the tyrant's belly, how the prophecy was coming for them all. And in the cold, echoing dark of that cave, little Zeus clenched his fists and made a vow that still shakes me to say out loud, "I will not be eaten. I will not disappear. I will free them, and I will end him." Out in the wide world, everything looked peaceful, almost perfect. They called it the Golden Age, didn't they? No war, no sickness, no hunger. Mortals walked gentle and immortal beneath a sky that never threatened them. Mountains rose proud and untouched. Rivers sang their way to the sea, and the Titans ruled with absolute, effortless power. But can you taste the lie in that golden light? Because underneath it all, Cronus was rotting from the inside out. The sickle that made him king was buried so deep, no one would ever find it. Or so he prayed. But prophecy doesn't care about buried weapons. It doesn't sleep. It waits, patient as roots cracking stone. Cronus ruled through fear, but not the fear of his subjects. No, the only person terrified was Cronus himself. Every night he heard his father's dying curse echoing. "Your own son will destroy you, just as you destroyed me." That whisper grew into a scream inside his skull until he couldn't breathe without tasting panic. He had been the prophecy once. He had held the blade. He knew exactly how real it was. So he decided the future had to die before it could grow teeth. When Rhea bore their first child, little Hestia, warm as fresh-baked bread and bright as hearthfire, Cronus looked into her innocent eyes and felt nothing but threat. He took her from Rhea's trembling arms before the new mother could even whisper her name, and swallowed her alive. No blood, no scream, just gone, like a candle snuffed at dawn. One by one they came. Demeter, who would have painted the world in wheat and sunlight. Hera, already proud and stormy even in her swaddling. Hades, quiet and grave as midnight. Poseidon, tasting of salt and thunder. Each time the same cold ritual. Each time Rhea's heart cracked a little wider until she was barely more than a walking wound wearing a crown. But mothers, real mothers, do not stay broken forever. Something fierce rises up. And so, Rhea turned again to Gaia, to the grandmother who knew betrayal better than anyone. Together, they wove a plan so simple, so perfect, it felt like destiny smiling for the first time in centuries. When the sixth child came, Rhea fled to Crete, to that hidden cave beneath Mount Ida, where the air smelled of cedar and goat milk and hope. There, alone and fierce and trembling with love, she gave birth to Zeus. One look at him, lungs full of thunder, tiny fists already reaching for a crown that didn't exist yet, and she swore on every star, "No Titan jaws will ever close around you, my son." She kissed his brow, wrapped a stone in the blanket still wet with her blood and tears, and walked back to Cronus like nothing had changed. He never suspected. He never even looked. He just opened his mouth and swallowed the lie. And it worked. Zeus lived. High in the mountains, surrounded by crashing shields and nymph song, and the warm milk of a magical goat, the baby who would topple the heavens grew strong and secret and furious. Years slipped by like shadows. The golden age glittered on, beautiful and doomed. While inside a hidden cave, a boy learned the taste of vengeance. He grew tall and clever and terrifyingly calm. He knew his brothers and sisters were still alive inside the tyrant, flickering like candle flames under glass. He felt them in his dreams, Hestia's gentle warmth, Demeter's patient green hope, Hera's proud fire, Hades' silent depth, Poseidon's restless tide. They called to him across the dark, and every night he answered, "I'm coming, wait for me." And then one day Gaia herself led him to Metis, the Titaness whose mind was sharper than any blade, whose cunning could untie fate itself. Together they brewed something ancient and bitter, something that tasted like the end of everything. Zeus disguised himself as a humble cupbearer, heart pounding beneath servants' robes, and offered Cronus the drink with lowered eyes. The old king, weary, arrogant, terrified, never saw it coming. He drank, and oh darling, the moment that followed still makes the heavens tremble. First came the stone, cold and heavy, tumbling from Cronus's throat with all the weight of every lie he'd ever swallowed. It struck the earth like the first crack of doom. And then the gods came roaring back into the world, full grown, radiant, furious, alive. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, stepping out of their prison like they'd only been sleeping, eyes blazing with 10,000 years of rage and relief and purpose. Can you even imagine the reunion? The sky itself must have wept lightning that day. The six of them turned to their little brother, no, their king, and without a single word they swore the same oath that still echoes in every storm. We will never be devoured again. We will rise. We will fight. And somewhere, deep beneath a mountain on Crete, a boy with storm cloud eyes smiled for the first time, because the wheel of fate had finally begun to turn the right way. Are you ready for the war that's coming? Because the heavens are about to burn, and a new age is clawing its way out of the old one, soaked in thunder and hope, and the kind of love that refuses to stay buried. Hold on tight, beloved. The storm is just beginning. Oh, my loves, can you feel the earth itself holding its breath? That stone, cold, heavy, wrapped in the very cloth Rhea once pressed against her breaking heart, came tumbling out of Cronus's throat and hit the ground like the first hammer strike of Judgment Day. Prophecy fulfilled. The air cracked open, and then, oh then, the gods came home. One by one, they stepped out of the darkness they had been forced to call home for centuries. Full-grown, blazing, magnificent, as if time had only been a bad dream they were finally waking from. Hestia first, gentle and glowing, like the first hearth fire after winter. Demeter next, smelling of wheat and summer and tears that had never been allowed to fall. Hera, proud and stormy and furious in all the ways a queen should be. Hades, silent, deep, ancient before his time. And Poseidon, salt on his skin and thunder in his veins. They weren't babies anymore. They were immortals forged in the hottest fire suffering can offer. And their eyes, sweet mercy. Their eyes burned with purpose so bright it could light the world on fire all over again. They stood shoulder to shoulder with Zeus, not as servants, not as children, but as equals, as warriors, as family finally whole. You could feel the oath between them without a single word being spoken. It was iron, it was blood, it was unbreakable, never again, never devoured, never silenced. We rise, we fight, we win. And right there in that electric trembling moment, the Titanomachy began. The war that tore the heavens wide open and made the earth itself scream. 10 years. 10 endless, world-shattering years. Can you even imagine what that felt like? On one side stood the old gods, the Titans, ancient and colossal, led by Cronus, who fought like a man who already knew he was dead but refused to lie down. On the other side stood the young Olympians, raw, furious, burning with a kind of justice only the betrayed can carry. It wasn't one neat battle with trumpets and banners. It was a decade-long apocalypse. Mountains ripped from their roots and hurled like spears. Rivers boiled. The sky bled lightning. Day and night forgot their names. The ground cracked so wide you could hear the planet crying. At first the Titans were winning. Of course they were. They were older than mountains, stronger than time itself. Cronus swung that buried sickle with the desperation of a father who had swallowed his own future and now watched it claw its way back up his throat. The Olympians were mighty, but they were young, and youth alone cannot break the bones of eternity. They were losing. They were bleeding. They were terrified. But Gaia, oh sweet, wounded, furious Gaia, she hadn't forgotten her own pain. She leaned close to Zeus one night, voice like roots cracking stone, and whispered, "Go deeper. Go to the prison your grandfather built inside me. Free the ones Uranus buried. Free your uncles, who have suffered longer than you can imagine." So Zeus, bruised and bleeding, and still unafraid, descended into Tartarus itself, into the blackest dark where even hope goes to die. And there they were. Briareus, Cottus, Gaius, the 100-handed ones, chained and broken and furious, and the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants whose tears had carved rivers in the stone. Zeus didn't command them. He knelt. He spoke like a brother. He broke their chains with his own trembling hands. And in return, gifts that would change everything. The Cyclopes, those scorned forgotten sons, hammered out weapons that sang with vengeance. For Zeus, the thunderbolt, a jagged spear of pure lightning that screamed when it flew. For Poseidon, the trident that could split continents and wake the deepest seas. For Hades, the helm of darkness that made its wearer vanish from sight, from memory, from fate itself. Do you feel the power shifting yet? Armed like gods of the end times, the Olympians came roaring back. Briareus and his brothers flung boulders the size of islands like they were pebbles. Zeus turned the sky into a furnace of lightning. Poseidon cracked the oceans open until islands shattered like glass. Hades slipped through the Titan ranks unseen, a shadow cutting throats of giants. And Cronus, poor, terrified Cronus, he finally understood. The prophecy wasn't a threat. It was a promise. He fell, not in some glorious last stand, but in exhaustion, in defeat, in the crushing realization that you cannot eat the future and expect it to stay quiet inside you. One by one, the Titans were dragged down, wrapped in chains forged from the same bronze that once held the 100-handed ones, and thrown screaming into the deepest pit of Tartarus. The 100-handed ones stood guard now, laughing in 100 voices at the irony. The sky cleared. The war was over. Zeus stood on a battlefield soaked in divine blood and looked less like a boy and more like a king than anyone had ever seen. The age of the Titans was dead. A new age was breathing its first furious breath. But peace among gods is a lie we tell children. The laughter in the new halls of Olympus was loud, wine-sweet, triumphant, but far beneath their feet, the earth remembered every wound. Gaia stirred. Her blood still carried the memory of Uranus's betrayal, and helping Zeus win had never meant she forgave the sky. She wanted balance. She wanted vengeance. And deep in the womb of the world, she called to Tartarus himself, the abyss that swallows light and laughs at shape. And together they birthed one final horror. His name was Typhoeus, and the moment he opened his eyes, the universe forgot how to breathe. Bigger than mountains, shifting like nightmare smoke, serpents writhing where legs should be, arms stretching from horizon to horizon, voice like 1,000 dying beasts. When he roared, the dead clawed at their graves. When he breathed, the sky caught fire. This wasn't a god. This was the end of gods. Even the titans in their prime had never been this terrible. He rose from the depths and the oceans pulled back in terror. Mountains bent like grass. The sky went black with clouds that had never known Zeus's command. And the Olympians, they broke. Apollo fled west faster than light. Hermes vanished into shadow. Ares, god of war himself, ran trembling. Only Athena stood like carved ice, spear ready, and Zeus alone, refused to leave his throne. What followed wasn't a battle. It was the death of the world trying to happen. Typhoeus tore mountains from the earth and threw them like stones. He ripped rivers out of their beds and flung them at the stars. His serpents lashed the moon. Zeus answered with everything he had, lightning exploding from his hands in sheets of white fire, thunder that shattered thought itself, winds that screamed his rage. They fought across heaven, across earth, into the sea and back again. The planet reshaped itself under every blow. Zeus struck him down once on Mount Haemus, blood pouring like rivers of molten night. But Typhoeus rose again, and in one heartbeat of weakness, he caught the king of gods, tore the sinews from his hands and feet, ripped the very strength that made Zeus right out of his body. Bound, broken, helpless, Zeus was dragged to a cave in Cilicia and mocked while the world waited to die. But gods are not so easily slain, and family, real family, does not abandon its own. Hermes and Pan, clever, wild, desperate, slipped into that cave like shadows with goat feet. They tricked the guardian, stole back the sinews, and ran like the wind itself was chasing them. When they pressed Zeus's stolen strength back into his body, the sky screamed awake. He rose roaring, black clouds swallowing the stars, every storm that ever was answering his call. The final clash happened on Earth, not in heaven. Zeus gathered every drop of fury the cosmos had ever held and hurled one thunderbolt, one perfect, world-ending thunderbolt straight into Typhoeus' heart. The sound broke mountains. The light blinded eternity. Typhoeus screamed a scream that shattered thought, staggered, bled fire, and fell. Zeus buried him alive beneath Mount Etna, chains of molten stone wrapping the monster forever. And still, when Etna erupts and the earth shakes with smoke and fury, that is Typhoeus dreaming of the day he'll rise again. Silence fell. Real silence. The kind that comes after the end of the world. Zeus walked back to Olympus, not just as king, but as savior. The gods who had run came crawling back, knees bent, eyes down. They had seen what happens when the earth itself decides you've gone too far. Zeus sat on his throne, scarred, exhausted, magnificent, and for the first time the sky belonged to him completely. But even then, even in that moment of ultimate victory, he knew. He knew what Gaia had always known. The world remembers. The world does not forgive. And somewhere, deep beneath his feet, monsters still dream of fire, and the future waits, patient and hungry, in the dark. Are you shaking yet? Because the throne is his, for now. But nothing in this wild, bleeding cosmos is ever truly safe. And the story, oh darling, the story is only just beginning to burn. Oh, sweet listener, can you feel the hush that fell after the last scream of Typhoeus died away? The sky was quiet again, truly quiet for the first time in anyone's memory. The air that had been choking with smoke from burning mountains, and the copper-sweet scent of divine blood suddenly tasted clean, almost fragile. The echoes of that final cataclysmic battle drifted off like smoke, yet every god still felt the weight of it pressing against their ribs. Zeus walked back up the shining steps of Olympus, covered in soot and victory, blood crusted in his beard, eyes older than they had any right to be. He had wrestled the storm itself and stared straight into the jaws of annihilation. And somehow, he was still standing. Do you know what that does to a soul? He had taken the throne by raw victory, by cunning older than mountains, by prophecy that had chased him since the day he drew breath in a Cretan cave. And now, after facing the literal wrath of the earth in the shape of a monster that should never have existed, he claimed it with a finality that made the stars themselves bow. No more monsters, he told himself. No more wars among the gods. Not if he could help it. But Zeus, for all his thunder and lightning and world-shaking might, was not a fool. He knew better than anyone that power grabbed with both fists slips away unless it is shared, balanced, respected. Even the sky cannot exist without the pull of the sea or the hush of the underworld holding it in place. Can you imagine the humility it took for the god who had just buried the earth's final vengeance to admit that? So, with the blood of the old age still dripping from the soil and a scent of scorched divinity still clinging to their skin, the three sons of Cronus stood together: Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, brothers who had once been swallowed, now unbreakable. They gathered around a simple urn, hands trembling just a little, and cast lots for the dominion of everything that existed. No shouting, no bargaining, just the soft clack of tokens shaped by destiny itself. Zeus drew the sky, the wild heavens, the clouds, the winds, the throne of Olympus that pierced the clouds like a challenge. Poseidon drew the sea, every restless wave, every hidden trench, every salt-sweet roar against mortal shores. And Hades, eldest, quietest, most grim, drew the underworld, the shadowed land where the dead drift like memories no one wants to keep. The earth itself, the living, breathing middle ground of mortals and mountains and forests, stayed unclaimed, shared, because none of them could rule without touching her. Some whispered later that Zeus had nudged fate with a quiet hand, but no one dared say it aloud. The balance was struck. For the first time, the world knew order, real order, the kind that makes your heart settle, even while it aches. Zeus climbed his storm-carved throne, ringed in cloud and guarded by law itself, and the new pantheon gathered around him like stars finding their places after an explosion. There was Hera, his sister queen, proud and watchful, eyes sharp enough to cut through ceremony and see every betrayal before it happened. Demeter, gentle and fierce, fingers still dusted with the first wheat she secretly pressed into mortal hands. Hestia, soft and steady, rekindling every hearth in every home until the whole world smelled faintly of safety. Poseidon, restless and magnificent, already building coral palaces beneath the waves. Hades, descending without a word to shape a kingdom of cold order, lit only by the flickering memory of life. And Zeus at the center, no longer the hidden boy with storm cloud eyes, but the keeper of balance, wielder of justice, god of storm and sky, and the hidden threads that bind every life together. But rule, once won, has to be kept, doesn't it? Zeus didn't just sit back and drink nectar. He built law the way Hephaestus builds weapons, deliberate, unbreakable. Oaths became sacred things, punishable by torments worse than death. He set the three fates spinning and measuring and cutting every thread of life, mortal and immortal, with scissors that never dulled. He unleashed the Erinyes, those terrifying, relentless furies, to hunt anyone who spilled kindred blood. Reverence and sacrifice were demanded, not as tribute, but as acknowledgement that order is fragile and must be fed. And then came Prometheus. Oh, Prometheus, clever, far-seeing, heartbreaking Prometheus, son of Iapetus, cousin to Zeus. The one who looked at shivering mortals and felt pity. He stole fire, actual fire from the gods, and pressed it into trembling human hands so they could warm themselves, cook their food, see in the dark. Can you imagine the outrage? Zeus did not hesitate. He had Prometheus dragged to the loneliest mountain at the edge of the world and chained with links not even a titan could break. Every dawn, an eagle, huge and merciless, tore out his liver. Every night it grew back so the torment could begin again. Immortal suffering for an immortal crime. That was justice, Zeus said, voice like distant thunder. But gods are never satisfied with punishing just the guilty, are they? Zeus wanted mankind to feel the weight of their gift. So he called on the gods to craft something more dangerous than any monster that had ever walked. From clay, Hephaestus shaped her, beautiful, heartbreakingly beautiful. Aphrodite breathed allure into her skin. Hermes slipped charm and deceit between her smiles. Apollo gave her a voice that could make stone weep. They named her Pandora, all gifted, and sent her to Epimetheus, Prometheus's gentle, foolhardy brother, who took one look and forgot every warning ever whispered. With her came a jar, sealed tight, beautiful and terrible. Curiosity is a cruel thing. She opened it and outpoured every sorrow the world had never known. Disease that steals breath, famine that hollows bellies, grief sharp as broken glass, betrayal that tastes like salt, war with its endless screaming. Only hope stayed inside, clinging to the rim like the last star before dawn. And that, my loves, was how the age of mortals truly began, not in innocence, but in knowledge, in struggle, in fear, and in the tiniest stubborn flicker of hope. Yet still Zeus ruled. From his storm-carved throne, he watched mankind stumble forward, prayers rising like incense, temples rising in stone and salt, and desperate supplication. He listened to songs sung in his name and in the names of all his wild family. He struck down the arrogant with lightning that remembered every insult. He lifted the pious with gentle rain. He shifted the world the way a man shifts coals in a brazier, never letting the fire die, never letting chaos creep too close again. The earth was no longer wild. It had been shaped, measured, divided. But beneath its sleeping skin, Gaia still dreamed. The titans still shifted in their bronze chains, and the oldest truth whispered through roots and dying seers' lips. The war had ended. The throne was secured. But Olympus was never, ever invulnerable. No kingdom is. And the age of Zeus, only just begun, would not be gentle. High on Mount Olympus, where no mortal foot has ever dared tread, where storms only come when summoned, the great halls rose from living cloud and gleaming marble. Columns caught the first blush of dawn, like they were blushing themselves. Silver fires burned forever along corridors wider than valleys. And there, on a throne carved from the bones of the storm itself, Cloaked in thunderclouds veined with living lightning, sat Zeus, king of gods and men, holding the aegis, that terrible shield fringed with serpents and crowned with the Gorgon's frozen scream. His voice could summon hurricanes. His will was law. And beside him, cloaked not in thunder, but in ice sharp enough to cut, stood Hera, his sister, his queen, goddess of marriage, sovereignty, and the kind of vengeance that waits years if it has to. Their marriage? Oh, it was never a love story. It was a treaty written in passion and sealed in power. Zeus wanted her the way storms want mountains, fierce, inevitable. But Hera did not fall easily. She never fell at all. He came to her disguised as a small, shivering bird, cold and pitiful, and she, tender-hearted for one heartbreaking moment, cradled him against her breast. Then he revealed himself in all his thunder and glory, and took what he wanted. She wept, not from sorrow, but from pure, blazing fury, and vowed she would marry him if only to bind the insult in the unbreakable chains of divine law. And so, she became his wife, not by choice, not by surrender, but by oath, proud and untamed and terrifyingly watchful from that day forward. Because Zeus was a god of appetites, beauty, cleverness, song, flesh. He wanted it all, and he took it wherever it bloomed. Nymphs by moonlight, goddesses in secret groves, mortal queens who never stood a chance. He became swan, bull, shower of gold, anything to slip past locked doors and wary hearts. And Hera watched. She always watched. Her silence was never ignorance. It was a blade being sharpened. Her vengeance was slow, precise, surgical. She never struck Zeus directly. She struck what he loved, his lovers, his children, the living proof of every betrayal. Io driven mad as a heifer, tormented by a gadfly across the world, Semele burned to ash by the very sight of Zeus in his true form. Her unborn child ripped from her womb and sewn into his thigh. Leto hunted across the earth, no land daring to let her rest while she carried Apollo and Artemis. Alcmene hounded before Heracles even drew breath. Hera's punishments were cruel, deliberate, unforgettable. And there came a day when the weight of humiliation, the whispered jests in golden halls, the quiet pity in Athena's eyes, the mocking laughter of Aphrodite became too much. Hera snapped, cold, regal, terrifying. She gathered the others, Poseidon gripping his trident like he was already tasting revenge, Athena with her cool, perfect logic, Apollo blazing with sun-bright pride. And together they crept into Zeus's chamber while he slept the sleep of the victorious. Chains forged by Hephaestus himself, unbreakable, glittering, wrapped around the king of gods and bound him hand and foot. They truly believed, for one shining moment, that they could force a new order on Olympus. But rebellions, darling, almost always underestimate the one sitting on the throne. And Zeus? Zeus was never truly asleep. The story of what happened next still makes the heavens tremble. But that, my loves, is for another breath, another heartbeat, another storm. Because even bound in chains, even betrayed by the ones closest to him, Zeus was still Zeus. And the king of gods does not stay fallen for long. Are you ready for what comes when thunder wakes up angry? Because the marriage of heaven and ice is about to catch fire all over again. And none of us, not even the gods themselves, are safe from what Hera's wrath can do when it finally decides to strike. Oh, my darling, can you feel the air on Olympus turn ice cold in that single heartbeat? The rebellion was over almost before it began. Thetis, that silver-footed sea nymph who never forgot a kindness, whispered into the deep and summoned Briareus, the 100-handed terror who once guarded the Titans. He came roaring up from the abyss like a living earthquake, 100 fists moving at once, and those chains Hephaestus had forged with such pride. They snapped like thread, just like that. Zeus woke up furious, eyes blazing white, thunder rolling in his chest before he even spoke. And the first thing he seized was Hera, his own queen, his partner, his betrayer. He dragged her to the edge of the sky and hung her there by golden fetters that burned like shame itself. Arms stretched wide, massive anvils tied to her ankles pulling her down while the entire cosmos watched. Can you imagine the humiliation? The Queen of Heaven dangling like a criminal, hair whipping in the void, tears streaming. But do you think she begged? Do you think she cried for mercy? No. She wept because he had made her a spectacle, because he had tried to strip her dignity in front of every god who ever whispered behind her back. Those tears were pure, molten rage. She did not forget. She would never forget. Eventually, he cut her down. No apology, not a single soft word. Just silence thick enough to choke on. An unspoken truce between two sovereigns who both knew the throne needed two bodies on it, whether those bodies loved each other or not. Hera walked back to her seat with her head high, crown straight, eyes sharper than ever. She would wear the crown. She would rule with grace that could cut and terror that could freeze the stars. Olympus was not merely Zeus's anymore. It was hers too, shaped by every ounce of her silence, her vengeance, and that terrifying, unbreakable resolve. Together they governed, side by side, thunder and ice. Their children were few, but oh, they were powerful. Ares, violent and impetuous, born for battle and little else. Hebe, sweet cup-bearer, forever young, pouring nectar with a smile. Eileithyia, quiet midwife of every difficult birth. And Hephaestus, poor, brilliant, broken Hephaestus, born lame, born unwanted. Some say Hera saw his twisted legs and flung him from Olympus herself in disgust. Others swear Zeus did it in a fit of rage. Either way, the boy fell for an entire day and night, crashing into the sea like a discarded tool. But the sea is kinder than heaven sometimes. Thetis and Eurynome pulled him from the waves, hid him in a glowing cave, and there, surrounded by fire and salt, he grew not bitter, but brilliant. He built thrones that walked, maidens of gold that breathed, jewelry that caught the sun and threw it back brighter. And when he came home with revenge. He sent his mother the most beautiful throne Olympus had ever seen. Pearls, silver vines, gears so fine they sang. Hera, proud and eager, sat down, and the throne locked around her like a trap. She could not move, could not rise. The gods begged. Hephaestus stood silent and cold. I have no mother. Only when Dionysus got him drunk on wine and laughter did the smith ride back on a mule crowned in ivy and free her. From that day on, he claimed his place, the greatest craftsman the world would ever know, but the bitterness never left his eyes. And when Zeus married him to Aphrodite, the most beautiful creature alive, it was duty, not love. Of course she betrayed him with Ares. Of course, Hephaestus wove a net finer than spider silk and caught them tangled together, dragging them naked and laughing before the entire court, while the gods howled with cruel delight. Hephaestus did not laugh. He just turned back to his forge and hammered his heartbreak into weapons that would outlast the stars. But among all the paradoxes of Zeus's storm-crowned reign, nothing was more wondrous or more terrifying than the way his children arrived. Not one of them came quietly. Not one slipped into the world with mortal cries and blood and softness. They burst in like omens, like prophecies wearing skin, sudden and radiant and strange, as if the universe itself couldn't hold them a moment longer. And none more so than Athena. Sweet mercy, Athena. Her story begins with fear. Zeus had taken Metis, the cleverest Titaness alive, daughter of Oceanus and Tethys, whose mind was deeper than the sea and subtler than morning mist. He didn't seduce her with fire or force. He courted her with words, with arguments, with patience, because a mind like hers walking free was too dangerous in a world still raw from war. But even after he claimed her, he trembled. Gaia and Uranus themselves had warned him, Metis will bear you a daughter wiser than her mother, and then a son who will cast you down exactly as you cast down Cronus, exactly as Cronus cast down Uranus. The wheel turns. And Zeus, who had once been the prophecy, now feared becoming its victim. So when Metis grew heavy with child, he did the unthinkable. He smiled, called her close with honeyed words, and swallowed her whole. The gods who saw it stood frozen. The air itself stopped breathing. Metis vanished into him, child and all. But Metis was no ordinary goddess. She did not die. She lived inside him, her voice curling around his bones like smoke, her wisdom spreading through his blood like wine. And the child she carried? That child began to grow, not with tiny fists, but with thought, with reason, with power too sharp to be contained. Zeus's headaches began, stiffness behind the eyes, then pounding that cracked his vision like lightning inside his skull. No healer, no potion, no prayer helped. Finally, desperate, he called for Hephaestus, grim and unsmiling, carrying a bronze axe that hummed with purpose. One swing, one perfect, terrible swing, right into the king of God's forehead. And out she came, not in blood, but in pure, blinding brilliance. Athena, fully grown, armored head to toe in gleaming gold and bronze, shield catching starlight, spear taller than any mortal man, eyes like tempered steel and winter dawn. She did not cry. She did not gasp. She opened her mouth and shouted a war cry so pure, so fierce, the heavens shook and Olympus itself staggered on its foundations. Every god stepped back in awe. No one had ever seen a birth like this. No one had ever seen a goddess so complete, so cold, so ready. She was not a child. She was a force. From that moment, she was Zeus's favorite, his sharpest blade, his clearest mirror. He draped the aegis over her shoulders himself. He listened to her counsel before any other. She was wisdom without softness, strategy without impulse, war without rage, justice without mercy, the olive tree and the spear, the owl and the storm, all in one terrifying, perfect creature. But not every child was so favored. Hephaestus, born of Hera alone, in a fit of jealous fury after Athena's impossible birth, came into the world already broken, legs twisted, face misshapen. His own mother looked at him and recoiled. Whether she flung him from Olympus in disgust or Zeus hurled him down in anger, the result was the same. He fell, screaming, for a full day and night until the sea caught him. Thetis and Eurynome cradled the broken baby and raised him in secret. And there, surrounded by fire and salt, he learned to make beauty out of pain. When he came back, he came with gifts and vengeance. The golden throne that trapped his mother, the invisible net that shamed his faithless wife and her lover, the weapons and wonders no other god could match. He took his place at the forge, scarred, limping, indispensable, heart forged in fire and just as hot. So it went with the children of Zeus. They did not come in peace. They arrived like omens, like challenges, like living storms. Athena springing armed and perfect from fear itself. Hephaestus rising from rejection to forge the very tools of divine power. They were never just sons and daughters. They were gods, crowned with purpose the moment they drew breath. And Olympus, for all its golden light and eternal marble, echoed constantly with their stories. The clang of Hephaestus's hammer, the hiss of steam from his forge, the quiet, deadly hush of Athena's wisdom, and beneath it all, the soft, endless grinding of resentment and pride and unbreakable will. Can you hear it? That is the sound of a family that rules the world and tears itself apart, trying. They cried out for strength in the shield wall, begged for lines that would never break, pleaded for the cold wisdom to know exactly when to thrust the spear and when to stand like stone. And do you know who answered? Only those who kept discipline when their hearts were hammering. Only those who showed real courage when terror clawed at their guts. She turned her back on cowards. Oh yes, she did. And she never once indulged the reckless fools who thought bravery meant charging alone into death. And when Athena herself, can you imagine, actually walked the battlefield, because sometimes, rarely, she did. She moved like living bronze caught in a storm wind, a shadow that slid between flying arrows, guiding the brave with a touch no one felt, toppling the stupid with a glance they never saw coming. Her great shield blazed with the Gorgon's screaming head, and her feet, listen to this, never once touched the blood-soaked earth. Never. But war was only the beginning of who she was. Athena was the soul of cities, the beating heart beneath every stone wall and marketplace. Can you feel it? She brought order when tribes still wandered like lost animals, when no one knew how to live together without tearing one another apart. She handed mortals the first dazzling spark of civilization and whispered, "You are not beasts anymore. You can be citizens." Architecture, that was hers. The first proud columns rising toward the sky, she dreamed them. Shipbuilding. She taught mortals how to tame the sea with keels and sails, the loom that sings under flying fingers. Her gift, the plough that bites the earth and promises bread, all hers. Where she walked, men suddenly learned to carve stone into temples that made the gods jealous, to raise statues not out of fear, but out of pure, breathless admiration. And then came the day one city became hers forever. Do you know the story? Of course you do, but let me tell it again, because it still makes my heart race. Cecrops, half man, half serpent, first king of that rugged rock in Attica, stood up and declared, "This city needs a god." Instantly the air split open. Poseidon roared in first, proud as thunder, smashed his trident into the stone. Bam! And up gushed a fountain of salt water. Some say it was a magnificent warhorse instead, eyes rolling, hooves striking sparks, the most untamable beast you ever saw. The people gasped. Then Athena stepped forward, calm as dawn. And what did she do? She simply knelt and pressed an olive seed into the earth. Up grew a tree-strong, roots-cracking rock, silver-green leaves dancing in the wind, wood for building, olives for eating, oil for lamps, and anointing kings, and above all, peace. The people shouted, the women wept, the men threw their spears in the air, and the city was named Athens on the spot. Athens. Even now the name feels holy on the tongue. She guarded it with an owl's unblinking eyes. When danger circled, that owl skimmed over moonlit rooftops like a warning. When Athens shone in glory, her statues taller than houses, spear raised, eyes fierce with wisdom stood watch over the walls. Empires rose and crumbled, kings betrayed and died, but Athens was always, always hers. Yet even Athena, perfect Athena, carried pride like a second spear. She would not tolerate rivals, especially mortals bold enough to reflect her own brilliance back at her. Have you heard about Arachne? Oh, you must have, but listen anyway, because it still makes me shiver. There was a girl in Lydia whose fingers danced over the loom like starlight on water. No pattern ever defeated her. Threads obeyed her, the way storms obey Zeus. Neighbors whispered, surely Athena herself taught her. Arachne laughed in their faces. Athena, she taught me nothing. This genius is mine. Word flew to Olympus faster than Hermes. Athena came down, not thundering, not flashing a lightning, but disguised as a tired old woman with kind, worried eyes. She laid a gentle hand on the girl's shoulder and said, child, give credit where it's due. Humble yourself before the goddess. Arachne looked her straight in the eye and sneered, if she's so great, let her come weave against me. The old woman's face hardened, the disguise melted away, and there stood Athena taller, terrible, radiant. The room went silent enough to hear hearts beating. They wove. Oh gods, how they wove. The tapestry of Athena showed Olympus in all its glory. The gods enthroned, justice shining, and in every corner mortals who had dared defy heaven being crushed for their arrogance. Perfect, flawless, divine. Then Arachne unveiled hers, and the air turned ice cold. She'd woven the crimes of the god Zeus as a swan, as a bull, as golden rain, seducing, deceiving, forcing mortal women while thunder laughed overhead. Every thread told the ugly truth, and it was more beautiful than beauty itself. Both tapestries were perfect, yet Arachne's was true. Athena stared, cheeks burning with humiliation that a mortal had matched her, surpassed her, exposed her family's shame. In a flash of fury, she struck the loom, ripped the gorgeous cloth to shreds. Arachne, watching her life's masterpiece destroyed, broke. Tears, shame, terror. She looped a rope around her own neck, but Athena caught her wrist. No, the goddess said, voice like winter. Death is too easy. She touched Arachne's forehead, and the girl shrank, twisted, sprouted 8 legs, and became the first spider curse to weave perfect webs in silence until the end of time. Mercy? No. Judgment. Cold, eternal judgment. That was Athena, not a goddess of love who forgives with a smile, not jealous Hera screaming on her throne. Athena stayed virgin forever, not because she was shy, oh no, but because no one, god or mortal or titan, would ever control her. Even Ares, drunk on battle madness one day, tried to force himself on her. She sidestepped, he stumbled, his seeds spilled useless on the ground, and from that rejected drop sprang Erichthonius half-serpent, half-child, whom Athena raised in secret as king of Athens. She needed no lover, no husband, no child of her body. She was already mother to something greater, wisdom itself, and wisdom needs no family tree. She stood at Zeus's right hand when the sky itself seemed ready to crack. She lent Perseus her mirror-bright shield so he could cut off Medusa's head without turning to stone. She whispered directions into Odysseus's ear when Poseidon's storms tried to swallow him whole. She laid a steady hand on Heracles' shoulder when Atlas's sky threatened to crush him. Never warm, never cruel, just deeper than both, like the stillness at the bottom of a well. Her halls on Olympus, silent. No laughter, no moaning lovers, no clink of wine cups. But when the gods screamed at one another, when Zeus hesitated, when chaos licked at the edges of the world, Athena spoke once quiet, razor sharp, and every voice fell silent. Even Ares, dripping blood and glory, lowered his spear when those grey eyes turned on him. Because you could not hide from Athena. There was no shadow deep enough, no lie clever enough. She saw what was, what had been, and most terrifying of all, what must be. When she moved, the world shifted to make room. And then there was Ares, where Athena walked in silence and blind in thought. Ares thundered across the earth like the end of everything. He was not strategy, he was not wisdom. He was the raw, screaming, red heart of war itself. Can you hear it? The shriek of a horse with an arrow in its throat, the wet crack of bone under iron, the roar of fire eating a village alive while children hide under their mothers' cloaks. That was his music. Son of Zeus and Hera, born straight from the throne, yet he never fit on any throne. The moment he opened his eyes, the gods flinched. Even Zeus, his own father, looked at him with something close to disgust. Because Ares didn't negotiate, didn't plan 10 moves ahead, he just burned. Conflict followed him the way flies follow blood. Where Athena made men better, Ares made them worse, made them forget oaths, made brothers drive spears into each other's backs, made wounds rot and mercy die gasping. His armor was never clean. His chariot horses foamed blood at the mouth. He rode into every battle, grinning like a wolf, eyes shining with pure lust for destruction. And he was never alone. His children ran beside the dust beside his wheels. Phobos, who poured panic into men until whole armies broke and ran. Deimos, who stole courage so completely that heroes forgot their own names. And Enyo, his scarlet sister, laughing as she bathed her arms to the elbows in gore. A loving family, if your idea of love is shared madness. Mortals built him almost no temples. They sacrificed to him only to beg, "Please, Lord of Slaughter, pass us by tonight." And yet, Ares could love. His love was a poison that killed everything it touched, but it was real. He could be wounded, very rarely, wounded. And nothing wounded him deeper than humiliation. Because the most beautiful creature in all creation was Aphrodite, born from sea foam and the severed genitals of old Uranus, golden and cruel and perfect. Ares saw her and wanted not with gentle poetry, but with a hunger that ate him alive. She belonged to Hephaestus by marriage, the lame smith whom Hera had flung from Olympus in disgust, and whom Zeus dragged back only because no one else could forge thunderbolts. It was a cold arrangement. So Aphrodite slipped away to Ares, and they burned sheets in secret, fire and silk and desperate moans, risking everything for one more touch. But Hephaestus was clever. He forged a net finer than spider silk, stronger than adamantine, invisible until it was too late. One night, he sprang the trap. The lovers woke tangled, bound, naked before all Olympus. Hephaestus threw open the doors, and every god and goddess came to stare and laugh. Ares, the terrifying, the blood-drenched, lay helpless, while Apollo howled with laughter and Hermes made crude jokes. Only Poseidon kept enough dignity to offer payment for their release. Hephaestus took the gold, cut the net, and Aphrodite walked away untouched by shame. But Ares fled Olympus with his face burning hotter than any battlefield. He hurled himself into war after war, trying to drown the laughter in rivers of blood. But the gods never let him forget. Even on the plains of Troy, he chose the losing side, drawn by beauty and old loyalties. When his own son Ascalaphus fell to Greek spears, Ares actually wept huge, angry tears that steamed on his cheeks. Then he charged the battlefield himself, roaring, only to be stabbed through the thigh by Diomedes, a mortal, with Athena guiding the spear. The scream Ares let out shook mountains. He limped back to Olympus, clutching the wound, and whined to Zeus like a kicked child. Zeus looked at him and said, "You are the most hateful of all my children. Sit down and shut up." No comfort, no healing touch, just disgust. And still, Ares endures, because war never dies. Cities crumble, new banners rise, but the scream of rage in the dark, the knife sliding between ribs, the smell of burning homes at dawn, Ares is there, smiling his terrible smile. Necessary, hated, eternal. Even the gods cannot look away when the blood begins to flow. And so, the two of them, grey-eyed Athena in silence and light, red Ares in thunder and slaughter, walk the world forever. One teaching us how to build, the other reminding us how easily we tear it all down. One, the cold clarity of the mind, the other, the hot madness of the heart. And between them, poor trembling humanity tries to survive, praying to the Virgin for wisdom, sacrificing to the blood drinker, so he might pass by just one more night. That is the story of Athena and Ares. And every time you see an olive tree standing calm in the middle of a battlefield, or hear the far-off sound of blades being sharpened, remember, both gods are watching, both are waiting, and both, in their own way, will always answer. Picture it, the sky throne of Zeus blazing gold above the clouds, every god and goddess leaning forward with held breath. Because down on a lonely rocking island that didn't even count as proper land, something world-changing was about to happen. The sea wind screamed through laurel trees. The ground itself shook like it knew prophecy was clawing its way out. And there, under a sky bruised purple with twilight, Leto, proud daughter of Titans, exhausted, hunted, swollen with Zeus's twins, finally found the one place Hera's curse couldn't reach. Delos, a wandering island that belonged to no continent, no king, no jealous queen. It floated like a raft of stone and olive roots, and when Leto staggered onto its shore, the island itself seemed to sigh. Yes, here, you're safe. Can you feel that moment? The whole cosmos leaning in. And then, oh gods, the pain, the blood, the salt spray, and the first cry that split the night. Artemis came into the world first, silent as moonlight sliding across a blade. Eyes already silver and ancient, already knowing every secret the forest would ever keep. She didn't wail like mortal babies. She looked around once, fierce and calm, as if to say, "I've been waiting." And before Leto could even catch her breath, before the afterbirth had cooled on the rocks, the second child arrived. Apollo. And his cry wasn't a baby's cry at all. It was prophecy itself, ripping loose, loud, golden, terrifying. The sun flared brighter right that instant. The waves went flat as glass. And Delos, floating, rootless Delos, suddenly slammed its stone roots deep into the seabed and declared, "I'm staying. These children are mine now too." Even the three fates dropped their threads for a heartbeat to listen, because they knew this boy would never stay quiet, never stay small. Apollo grew the way dawn grows fast, unstoppable, blinding. One day, he was a toddler reaching for his mother's finger. Next day, he was tall as a cypress, golden, laughing, already stringing a bow no mortal could bend. And the first time he drew that bow-sweet mercy sparrows fell like black rain from the sky. Pine trees a mile away split, clean in half with a sound of thunder. But it wasn't cruelty, it was justice, learning its own strength. Because he heard about Python. You remember Python, don't you? That ancient earth-born serpent, fat with old Gaia magic, who had chased his pregnant mother across every shore on Hera's orders. Apollo's eyes went hard as sunlight on bronze. He didn't ask permission. He just walked down the mountain at Delphi, arrows singing, and turned that monster into a bleeding ribbon across sacred stones. 7 days the blood smoked. 7 days the earth groaned. And on the 8th day, Apollo raised marble columns where the corpse cooled and said, "This place is mine now." Not conquest transformation. From that moment, every king, every general, every trembling poet climbed those switchback paths to hear the Pythia scream his future, in riddles that smelled of sulphur and laurel. And Apollo, he never spoke in plain words if he could help it. He sent visions that burned the eyes, music that made stones weep, plagues that arrived invisible on the wind when someone forgot respect. He could be tender think of him sitting on a hillside in rough shepherd's cloak, playing the lyre until goats forgot to chew, and the stars themselves leaned down to listen. He taught Orpheus how to make trees walk, taught Homer how to make blind men see whole wars inside their heads. But cross him, Coronis, beautiful, faithless Coronis, laughing in another man's arms while carrying Apollo's son. Artemis's arrow found her heart before the laugh finished leaving her throat. Yet even in rage, Apollo's rage, there was mercy. He ripped baby Asclepius from the burning funeral pyre and breathed medicine into his tiny lungs. Healing born from betrayal, only the gods could twist sorrow that beautifully. Love, though, love was Apollo's wound that never closed. Daphne, river-bright Daphne, running from the fire she saw in his eyes, screaming to her father Peneus, "Save me!" And the river god answered, bark racing up her legs, arms turning to branches, hair exploding into leaves, just as Apollo's fingers brushed her waist. He stood there holding a laurel tree that still trembled with her heartbeat. And from that day, every victor's crown was made of her, every poet's wreath, every funeral garland, Daphne forever out of reach, forever his. Can you imagine loving something that fiercely and still losing it in the same breath? He drove the sun chariot, later blazing horses, mane of fire, wheels dripping light-pulling dawn across the world like a promise he never broke. He was reason wearing beauty like armor. He was the god you thanked when the fever broke, the god you cursed when the fever took your child anyway. And beneath his mountain at Delphi, the old serpent's bones still whispered sometimes, dreaming of the day the world might go dark again. But before all the temples, before the marble and the incense and the long lines of kings begging for one clear answer, there was only wilderness thick, smelling of resin and wet stone, alive with eyes that never blinked. And in that wilderness, Artemis was already queen. Born first, born silent, she slid out of Leto like moonlight sliding off a blade. Legend says, get this, she turned around, still slick with birth, and helped pull her own twin brother into the world while their mother groaned against a palm tree. 9 years old in goddess time, maybe 3 in ours, and already midwife to the sun, God himself. That was the first hint. Artemis would never be tamed. She marched up to Zeus' little girl with storm-grey eyes and laid out her demands like a general. Give me a silver bow like Apollo's. Give me 60 ocean nymphs and 20 river nymphs for my hunting pack. Give me the mountains forever, and let no man ever touch me. Ever. Zeus, king of everything, blinked twice and said, done. Just like that. No bargaining, no lectures. Maybe even he was a little afraid of what he saw in those eyes. From that day, the forest belonged to her. She ran barefoot over needles that should have cut like knives, and they parted for her. Wolves walked beside her like dogs. Bears lowered their heads when she passed. Deer froze mid-leap just to watch her go by, silver tunic flashing between trunks. Bow always half-drawn, hair flying wild as moonlight itself. Cities, she didn't need them. Thrones, laughable. She had the high places where the air is so thin mortals go mad, and she danced there with her nymphs until dawn bled across the peaks. But step wrong in her territory and mercy vanished. Niobe proud, foolish Niobe, stood in Thebes bragging, Leto only had 2 children. Look at my 14 perfect beauties. The words were barely cold when silver and golden arrows began to fall like deadly rain. Apollo took the boys mid-laugh. Artemis took the girls mid-scream. 14 small bodies laid out like broken flowers, and Niobe's howls went on so long the gods finally turned her to stone on Mount Sipylus just to shut her up. Even today, water drips down. That rock face, people say it's still her tears. Then there was Actaeon, good hunter, maybe even great, but prideful. One exhausted evening, he pushed through a hidden glade, looking for water, and found gods have mercy. Artemis, bathing with her nymphs, water glittering on skin that had never known shame or desire. One heartbeat of stunned silence. Her eyes met his. No scream, no plea, just a flick of her fingers, and antlers burst from his skull. His hands turned to hooves, his voice to a stag's desperate bellow. His own hounds, 50 of them, the pride of his kennel, caught his new scent and ran him down in minutes. The forest went back to birdsong like nothing had happened. Message received. Yet the same goddess who could destroy a bloodline before breakfast also crouched unseen beside birthing beds when labour turned deadly. Women in the pangs of childbirth screamed her name, Artemis, offering honey cakes and wildflowers, begging the virgin huntress to remember her own mother's pain on Delos. Sometimes she came, invisible fingers easing the child out. Sometimes she turned away. Life and death on a moonlit knife edge, that was her domain too. And when Agamemnon's arrogance held the Greek fleet windbound at Aulis, when the priest demanded his daughter Iphigenia's throat to appease Artemis herself, the goddess waited until the knife flashed down, then snatched the girl away in a cloud of mist, leaving a trembling deer to bleed on the altar instead. She carried Iphigenia far across the Black Sea to the savage land of Tauris and made her high priestess in a temple where no man dared set foot. Mercy wearing terror's face. That's who they were. Apollo blazing across the day with truth that burns. Artemis slipping through the night with truth that cuts. Twins, mirrors, opposites who completed each other. One pulling the world toward order and music and blinding clarity. The other guarding everything wild and untamed and free. And somewhere between the laurel wreath and the hunting horn, between the oracle's smoke and the wolf's distant howl, humanity learned to live with both light and shadow beating in our chests. They are still out there, you know. When the morning sun hits your face so bright it hurts, and suddenly everything makes sense for one perfect second, that's Apollo kissing your forehead. When you're deep in the woods at night and the hair rises on your arms, because something ancient is watching with silver eyes, that's Artemis deciding whether you're prey or just lucky. And the world keeps turning, golden and wild, terrifying and beautiful, because those twins will never stop shaping it. She demanded that sacrifice. Remember, Agamemnon, drunk on his own glory, had shot one of her sacred stags years earlier and bragged that even Artemis couldn't have made a cleaner kill. Oh, the arrogance. She never forgot. Not one boast, not one broken oath. Every slight was carved into her heart like notches on an arrow shaft. So when the Greek ship sat becalmed at Aulis, sails drooping like dead things, every sailor knew whose anger held the wind hostage. Artemis stood on the cliffs at dawn, silver bow across her shoulder, moonlight still clinging to her hair, and the message was crystal clear. Pay the price or rot here forever. And pay they did. Can you feel how cold the blade must have felt against Iphigenia's throat? Yet, at the very last heartbeat, Artemis swept the girl away in a rush of mist and mountain air, leaving only a trembling deer to bleed on the altar. Mercy? Maybe. Warning? Absolutely. Cross me and I take what's mine. But I'm not always cruel. Just always watching. She never married, never softened, never let any man, mortal or god, lay a hand on her and live to brag about it. Orion Massive, star-shouldered Orion, was the only one who ever walked beside her for more than a single hunt. Some nights, the moon caught them running side by side, two shadows flickering between the pines, his laughter deep as avalanches, her silence bright as frost. Was he friend? Brother in arms? Lover? The stories fight about it like dogs over a bone. Some swear he tried to force her. Some swear he only asked to warm his hands at her firelight near her skin. But every version ends the same. Orion dies. Maybe her own arrow found his heart because he forgot who she was. Maybe jealous Apollo tricked him into standing on a cliff while a giant scorpion rose from the sand. Maybe Gaia herself sent the monster because no mortal was allowed to hunt beside the untouchable Artemis forever. All we know is the sky cracked open one night and she lifted his broken body into the stars herself, setting him there like a warning sign no one can ever take down. Did she weep? Not a single tear. She just turned back to the forest, bow humming, colder than ever. People try to trap her in temples, carve her in marble with soft eyes and gentle smiles, but it never works. The statues always feel wrong, too warm, too tame. She isn't contained. She's the heartbeat you feel in your throat when you're alone in the deep woods and something moves just beyond the edge of your firelight. She's the sudden hush right before the arrow leaves the string, the breath you didn't know you were holding. She's the moon riding high over battlefields where men are too busy dying to look up and realize she's counting the corpses. She is the goddess of the in-between girl and woman. in between life and death, in between desire and surrender. And she belongs to no one but the night and the wild and herself. But go back way back before Olympus glittered, before anyone dared call themselves Olympians, when the sky was still a living tyrant named Uranus, smothering the earth in an endless, cruel embrace. Gaia, our own Mother Earth, ached under his weight and screamed silently every time he shoved their monstrous children back into her womb because he was terrified of what they might become. Can you imagine that pain? Being forced to swallow your own babies alive? So she forged a jagged flint sickle, pressed it into the trembling hand of her youngest son Cronus, and whispered, "End this." And Cronus, O gods, waited in the dark, like a nightmare, with perfect timing. When Uranus descended again, groaning with lust, Cronus rose up, screaming, and swung. Blood sky blood, star blood, rained down in sheets. The severed pieces flew, and the genitals hit the wine-dark sea with a hiss that birthed something the world was not ready for. Out of the red foam, out of the wound itself, she stepped fully grown, dripping pearls, hair streaming gold, so heartbreakingly beautiful that the waves forgot how to break and just knelt at her feet. Aphrodite, born from a castration, born from violence and shame and raw desire, and somehow still the most perfect thing creation had ever coughed up. Flowers exploded from salt water, where her toes touched sand. The air itself got drunk on her scent. Cyprus or Cythera, doesn't matter which island caught her first. Every shore claims her because every shore wanted her. And from that moment, every heart on earth learned a new kind of ache. The kind that makes you stupid, the kind that makes you brave, the kind that starts wars. Zeus tried to chain her with marriage, handed her to Hephaestus like, "Here, craft keeps beauty safe." Ha! As if anyone could leash wildfire, she smiled at the wedding, let the crippled smith slide a ring on her finger, then walked straight into Ares' arms the same night. Beauty and war tangled together like they were born for it because they were. She didn't fight with swords, she fought with longing. One slow glance and heroes forgot their oaths. One laugh and kingdoms signed their own death warrants. Hippolytus spat on love itself, swore he'd stay chaste for Artemis forever. Aphrodite heard that and smiled the coldest smile you've ever seen. Next thing poor Phaedra knew, her heart was on fire for her own stepson, and the whole house of Theseus burned down in shame and suicide. That's Aphrodite, never evil for fun, just merciless when you deny what she is. And Paris, sweet, stupid Paris, holding that golden apple Hera offered him power. Athena offered him victory, but Aphrodite leaned in, perfume and promises, and whispered, "I'll give you the most beautiful woman alive." He didn't even hesitate. Helen left with him before the sun set, and 10 years later, Troy was ash, and every mother in Greece was wearing black. All because one goddess smiled. She and Ares rolled together like thunder and honey, making children named Fear and Terror, and strangely Harmony, because even chaos sometimes dreams of peace. Hephaestus caught them once in that famous golden net, invisible, unbreakable, and dragged the whole laughing pantheon in to point and jeer. Ares roared. Aphrodite didn't even blush. She just stepped out of the net later like it had been silk lingerie. And still she kept coming back to the war god, because love and war have always been the same heartbeat with different names. Mortals built her temples everywhere, painted her with doves, and roses, begged her for one glance, one night, one heartbeat of what Paris felt. They knew the danger. They lit the incense anyway, because who wouldn't trade 10 safe years for 1 minute of being consumed by her? And then there's Hephaestus Paul, brilliant, broken Hephaestus, the only god with scars you can actually see. The second he was born, Hera took one look at his twisted leg and imperfect face, and, can you believe this, hurled him off Olympus like trash. He fell for a whole day, and night, wind, screaming past his ears, until the sea caught him gently in arms that didn't care what he looked like. Thetis and Eurynome, those kind sea queens, pulled him down into blue silence and raised him in a cave, where the only light was forge fire. He learned to make the flames love him. He hammered pain into beauty, loneliness into miracles, golden maidens who moved and breathed, tables that walked themselves, chains so fine they could bind a god without a sound. Every clang of his hammer was a question. Do you see me now? Years later, he sent Hera that throne, gorgeous, perfect, alive with hidden gears. She sat down, smiling at her clever son, finally coming home. And Click couldn't get up again. The laughter stopped real fast. Gods begged, threatened, promised oceans of ambrosia. Hephaestus stayed under the sea, drinking fire and silence. Only Dionysus, grinning madman that he is, got him drunk enough to ride a mule back up the mountain. He freed Hera with one blow of his hammer, but the look he gave her said everything. I'm here because I choose to be, not because you deserve it. They gave him Aphrodite to sweeten the deal, as if beauty could cancel out rejection. He built her jewelry that made the stars jealous, forged her a girdle that turned desire into a weapon even she didn't need. She wore his gifts, kissed his scarred cheek sometimes, then slipped out to meet Ares while the forge was still glowing. And Hephaestus, he just kept working. Hammer ringing like a slow heartbeat, sparks flying like the tears he never let fall. Because that's who he is, the god who takes every wound and turns it into something the world can't live without. Thunderbolts for Zeus, armor for heroes, Pandora's box, Pandora herself. The only Olympian who actually creates more than he destroys. So there they are, Artemis running forever free under cold stars, Aphrodite setting the world on fire with one slow smile, Hephaestus hammering heartbreak into miracles deep under the mountain. One refuses to be touched, one touches everyone and ruins them. One was never touched kindly and still makes beauty out of pain. And every time you feel the night air go suddenly still, or your heart lurches for someone you can never have, or you pick up a hammer after life has broken you, they're still there, still watching, still walking the edges of the world we think we own, reminding us that desire, rejection, and wild freedom are older than any throne, and none of them, not one, will ever let us go. Picture the wedding nobody wanted to attend. Golden Aphrodite, every inch of her glowing like sunrise on water, being walked down an aisle of clouds toward Hephaestus, who stood waiting with soot on his cheeks and a limp that made the marble floor seem to pity him. Zeus thought he was being clever pair, the most beautiful creature alive, with the ugliest god, and maybe she'll stay put. Ha! As if desire has ever obeyed a marriage contract. She kissed her new husband once, politely, like someone tasting spoiled wine, and that same night she was already slipping between Ari's blood-stained sheets. The whole mountain knew. Whispers turned into jokes, jokes turned into open laughter, and poor Hephaestus heard every single one echoing down the halls, while he hammered thunderbolts alone. But he didn't scream. He didn't throw his hammer through anybody's skull. He just built. All night, sparks flying like angry stars, he wove a net so fine you could pass it through a wedding ring, stronger than any chain ever forged. Then he waited until the lovers were tangled and sweaty and careless, and snap-dropped it over them. Invisible, unbreakable. The next morning, he flung open the palace doors and bellowed, "Everybody come look! Gods, goddesses, cupbearers, even the nymphs. Come see what love looks like when it's caught." And there they were, Ares snarling, Aphrodite flushed scarlet, both naked and ridiculous under the morning light, while Hermes howled with laughter, and Apollo slapped his thigh so hard he almost fell off his cloud. Hephaestus didn't laugh. He just stood there, arms folded, eyes burning colder than any forge, letting Olympus laugh itself sick. When Poseidon finally stopped wheezing long enough to offer a ransom, Hephaestus shrugged, took the gold, and cut the net. Not because he was satisfied, but because even revenge tastes like ash when the person you wanted to hurt the most doesn't care that they're hurt. And then he went straight back to work. Because that's what he did. While everybody else was drinking and flirting and starting wars, Hephaestus built the actual world they lived in. Palaces that floated on clouds, doors that only opened for the rightful king, thrones that walked themselves to the table when dinner was ready. He forged Zeus's aegis that flashes like a solar flare and makes armies drop their swords in terror. He laced Hermes' little winged sandals that let him outrun thought itself. He hammered Achilles' armor that laughed at spears. Helios's chariot that drags the sun across the sky every morning, whether we deserve daylight or not. Every miracle you've ever heard of had his soot fingerprints somewhere on it. And still he worked alone. The forge roared, the hammer rang, and only the Cyclopes dared come close enough to pass him tools, because even they knew the silence around him was heavier than mountains. Later, when Zeus wanted to punish mankind for Prometheus's fire trick, guess who got the job? Hephaestus. "Make me a woman," Zeus said, trying to sound casual. So Hephaestus took river clay, still warm from the sun, shaped the first mortal woman with hands that knew exactly how heartbreaking beauty could be, breathed furnace air into her lungs, and watched the other gods line up to give their gifts. Aphrodite gave charm, Athena gave skill, Hermes gave a lying tongue, persuasive tongue, and Hephaestus, he gave her the jar, not a box stop, saying boxer-sealed pathos full of every evil he'd ever felt, watching his wife choose someone else. He sealed it with a lid curiosity couldn't resist, and set it in her innocent hands. When she opened it, because of course she did, the world got sickness, greed, war, death, everything we still curse about Tuesday mornings. Only hope stayed inside, fluttering like a trapped bird. Was that mercy from the crippled god, or one last twist of the knife? You decide. He never told. Down on Lemnos they loved him anyway. The island still smokes from where he landed, after Hera threw him off the mountain 9. Days and nights of falling before the sea caught him. The volcano's there. That's his breath when he's angry. The sparks that leap out at night. That's him laughing, because mortals finally built him real temples, smoky, loud, honest places where blacksmiths and potters and anyone who ever burned their fingers making something beautiful left offerings of charcoal and beer. They didn't care that he limped. They cared that he understood fire the way sailors understand the sea. And then shift the wind just a little. Feel that sudden breeze that smells like pine and trouble. That's the day Hermes was born. Quiet cave, no trumpets, no earthquakes. Just Maya humming to herself on Mount Selene while Zeus's latest fling produced a baby who opened his eyes and basically said, "Cool story, Mum. Gotta run." Before the sun went down that same day, the kid had toddled out, stolen 50 of Apollo's best cattle, walked them backward so the tracks pointed the wrong way. Who even thinks of that at 6 hours old? Sacrificed too, invented barbecue, invented the lyre from a turtle shell and some turtle never saw coming, and was back in his cradle sucking his thumb by moonrise. Innocent as a kitten. Apollo stormed in the next morning, ready to incinerate somebody, took one look at the smirking infant, and get this, started laughing. Couldn't help it. Zeus took one look at the kid on the knee and said, "You're trouble. I like you." Gave him the caduceus, the winged hat, the whole messenger starter pack, and basically turned him loose on the universe with a wink. From then on, Hermes was everywhere at once. Need a soul escorted to the underworld. He's your guide, gentle hand on the shoulder. No drama. Need a lying tongue to get a hero out of trouble. He invented those too. Need someone to put a 100-eyed giant to sleep with bedtime stories so Zeus can sneak around with another mistress. Hermes is already humming, blade hidden behind his back. He gave us music, weights, measures, commerce, wrestling, astronomy, and every smooth excuse you've ever used on a cop. Thieves pray to him before they pick your pocket, and travelers thank him when they find their way home. He's the reason crossroads feel like magic, the reason every border feels like a story waiting to happen. And he never, ever picks a side. He just keeps the roads open so everybody else can fight over them. And then there's Hestia. Sweet, quiet Hestia. The very first child Cronus swallowed. The very last one Zeus coughed up when he sliced his father open like a rotten fruit. Everybody else came out swinging Poseidon, roaring for the sea. Hades already brooding about real estate. Demeter clutching wheat like a weapon. But Hestia, she stepped out last, blinking in the sudden light, smiled softly and said, "I'll take the hearth." That was it. No lightning, no demands, no tantrums. Just, let me keep the home fires burning, and you can all keep the drama. She gave up her seat on the 12 Olympian thrones so Dionysus could have a place. Gave it up willingly, happily, because a house divided against itself can't stand. But a house with a steady flame in the center can survive anything. She never married, never fought, never cheated, never demanded worship with earthquakes or plagues. She just stayed. Every hearthfire in every home, every campfire that kept some lonely traveler alive, every sacred flame in every temple was her body and her promise. As long as this burns, you are not alone. When a new house was built, they carried a coal from the mother's hearth to the daughters, so Hestia could walk with the family forever. When a city was founded, the first thing they did was light her eternal fire in the town hall, because without her quiet warmth, everything else falls apart. Soldiers marching off to war carried a little spark from her altar in a clay pot, so she marched with them. Brides carried it to their new homes, so love would have a place to live. She didn't need statues with terrifying eyes, or frightening stories. She was the glow under the kettle, the smell of bread baking, the reason strangers become family when they sit together in firelight. So there they are, Hephaestus alone in the roar of his forge, turning heartbreak into miracles. Hermes dancing across every border, laughing at rules. Hestia sitting quietly at the center of every home, reminding us why any of it matters. One betrayed and still creating. One never staying long enough to be caught. One never leaving so we're never truly lost. And if you've ever stood in front of a fire and felt the centuries leaning over your shoulder, or told a lie that saved your skin, or caught a stranger's eye across a road and suddenly felt the whole world shift, then you've met them. They're still here. The limping God who makes the world work, the grinning God who keeps it moving, and the gentle goddess who keeps it warm. And together, in their own broken, beautiful, impossible way, they hold the whole crazy pantheon and us together. She didn't want a crown. She didn't want statues taller than cypress trees or hymns that shook the sky. Can you even imagine that? While Poseidon was thundering for oceans, and Apollo was demanding laurel wreaths, and every other god was basically screaming, "Look at me." Hestia, eldest daughter, firstborn of the entire swallowed generation, looked at all the chaos on Olympus and simply said, "I'll stay home and keep the fire going." That was it. No drama, no bargaining. Just give me the hearth and you can keep the rest. And Zeus, who usually loves a good power grab, stared at her for a long moment and then nodded. Because even the king of the gods knows you don't argue with the one person who can make a house feel safe. So she became the quiet heartbeat in every single home that ever mattered. The very first flame crackled to life in the morning, hers. The last ember glowing when everyone else was asleep, hers. The circle of stones where dads told stories, where mums baked bread that smelled like love itself, where strangers became family because they shared the warmth, hers. Every sacrifice, every wedding, every newborn baby carried to the firelight so the gods could see its face. Hestia got the first mouthful and the last, because she was the beginning and the end of every prayer. You didn't have to shout her name, you just had to keep the fire alive. And if it ever went out, gods help you. That house was cursed until someone carried a coal from a neighbor's hearth and begged her forgiveness on their knees. Poseidon showed up once with the ocean in his eyes and basically proposed on the spot. Apollo came strumming his lyre, promising her sunrises that would never fade. She turned them both down so gently, they didn't even realize they'd been rejected until they were halfway home. Then she asked Zeus sweetly, calmly, for the gift of eternal virginity, not because she hated love, but because somebody had to be the one thing nobody could take, nobody could break, nobody could use as a weapon. Zeus swore the oath himself, right there in front of everybody, and Hestia just smiled and went back to tending the fire on Olympus that never, ever went out, no matter how many affairs or battles or betrayals happened upstairs. She gave up her actual seat among the 12, so baby Dionysus could have a place at the table, gave it up without a single tear, without a sigh, because thrones are cold and somebody has to keep the hall warm while the rest of them are screaming at each other. And you know what? We still feel her. Every time you walk into a kitchen and the air smells like bread and safety. Every time a campfire crackles and strangers start sharing their stories. Every time you come home exhausted and the lights are on, and somebody left the porch light burning, that's Hestia kissing your forehead. The poets skipped her because she didn't sleep with anybody or start any wars. But the wise ones knew, when everything else is gone, the hearth is still there. A kingdom can lose its king and survive, but a home without her flame is just a ruin with memories. And then there's Demeter. Oh, Demeter, can you even stand how much she loved? She wasn't flashy, no lightning, no golden chariot, no terrifying helmet, just soil under her fingernails and the smell of sun-warm wheat in her hair. She walked barefoot through every field mortals ever ploughed, whispering, "Grow, grow, grow," and the earth obeyed like it was honoured to feed her children. Kings bowed when she passed, because bread is more powerful than any army. She taught humans how to plant, how to wait, how to reap, how to thank the dirt for becoming dinner. And all she asked in return was one thing, one perfect, laughing thing. Her daughter, Persephone, Core, the maiden who made spring look lazy, hair like poured honey, feet that left flowers instead of footprints, laughter that sounded like birds discovering they could fly. Demeter kept her close the way the sky keeps the horizon, always in sight, always just out of reach of danger, until the day she wasn't. Picture it, a meadow exploding with colour, girls laughing, Persephone reaching for one perfect narcissus that practically glowed with temptation. She leans down, petals cool against her fingers, and the ground just opens. No warning, no thunder, just a black chariot screaming up from below, horses breathing fire, Hades himself reaching out with hands that have never known sunlight. One heartbeat, she's a girl picking flowers. The next, she's gone, dragged screaming into the dark, while the earth seals shut like it never happened. The other nymphs ran, but the flowers stayed wilted forever, a silent scream frozen in colour. Demeter heard that scream across the whole world. She dropped everything, every sheaf of wheat, every ripening fig, and ran. 9 days and 9 nights, torches blazing in both hands, hair wild, voice raw, calling a name that no one answered. Fields withered under her feet because her heart wasn't in them anymore. She begged every god, every nymph, every river nothing. Finally Helios, who sees everything from his chariot, took pity and told her the truth. Hades took her. Zeus let him. The king of the gods traded his own daughter for peace in the family, I guess. Demeter didn't scream. She just went quiet. And that silence was worse than thunder. She left Olympus, put on mortal rags, walked until her feet bled, and ended up at a well in Eleusis, looking like every heartbroken mother who ever lost a child. The queen's daughters found her there, eyes hollow, and brought her home like you'd bring home a wounded bird. Demeter nursed the queen's baby boy in secret, laying him in the hearth fire every night, not to hurt him, but to burn away the mortal parts until he could live forever. But the queen saw the flames licking her son's skin and screamed, and the spell shattered. Demeter stood up tall, rags falling away, and the whole palace shook with her grief. "I am Demeter," she said, voice like cracking earth, "and the world will starve until I hold my daughter again." And it did. Wheat turned black in the ground, trees dropped fruit like tears, rivers shrank to mud, people ate their seed corn and still went to bed hungry. Babies were born weak because mothers had no milk. The smoke of dying hearth fires rose to Olympus like an accusation. And finally, Zeus blinked. He sent Hermes down with the order, give her back. Hades didn't argue. He looked at Persephone pale now, quiet, wearing a crown of iron poppies, and offered her a pomegranate like it was just fruit. She hadn't eaten in months, but something in his eyes made her take it. 6 seeds, 6 tiny red seeds. 1 bite for every month she would have to stay. When she stepped back into the sunlight, Demeter ran faster than wind, arms open, sobbing, laughing, crushing her daughter so hard flowers burst open all around them. Spring exploded overnight, but the moment Demeter heard about the seeds, she understood. 6 months of joy, 6 months of grief, forever. And instead of raging, she nodded, because a mother's love is bigger than forever and taught the world how to survive loss by turning it into seasons. That's why we have winter, guys. Every bare branch, every frozen field is Demeter waiting, arms outstretched, counting the days until her little girl comes home. And every spring is Persephone pushing open the door, flowers in her hair, saying, "Mum, I'm back." Demeter founded the mysteries at Eleusis so no one would ever again be completely hopeless in the dark. People walked miles, fasted for days, stood in silence just to be let into that torchlit hall where, for one heartbeat, they saw mother and daughter reunited and understood that death isn't the end. It's just a long winter waiting for spring. They came out weeping, but not from sorrow. They came out knowing the seeds we plant in darkness always bloom again. And Persephone herself, she didn't come back the same girl who left. Something in those 6 seeds changed her. She walks in sunlight now with shadows in her eyes and rules the underworld with a crown no one can take away. She is both the terrified maiden screaming for her mother and the queen who makes the dead feel less alone. Every year, she chooses to go back down, because love isn't only light. Sometimes, love is choosing to sit beside someone in the dark so they're not afraid anymore. So there they are, Hestia, the quiet flame that never leaves, Demeter, the grieving mother who taught the earth to cry and bloom again, and Persephone, the girl who became queen of both worlds, because love is stronger than death. One stays so we always have home, one leaves so we always have spring, and one returns so we always have hope. And when you light a candle tonight, or plant something small and wait for it to grow, or hug someone you thought you'd lost forever, listen close. You can almost hear them, the soft crackle of Hestia's hearth. Demeter's sigh of relief when the first green shoot breaks the soil. Persephone's footsteps running up the long road home. They never really left us. They're still here, keeping the fire, counting the days, walking the long circle that keeps the whole world turning. She screamed one raw, shattering scream that tore the sky open and stitched it back wrong, and then the earth swallowed her whole. Can you hear it still? That single cry echoing down every grave ever dug. Persephone, laughing girl of meadows and sunlight, vanished into a crack that smelled of cold iron and older than stars. And Hades, silent king of everything that dies, didn't force a crown on her head. He simply set one beside his throne and waited while she sat rigid, eyes wide, heart hammering like a trapped bird. But something shifted in the dark. The screams quieted, the trembling slowed. She looked around at the endless halls of the dead, at the shades that bowed when she passed, at the absolute power no one dared question. And something ancient inside her whispered, this is also mine. Not happiness, never that simple, but certainty. The kind that settles in your bones like winter. So when Hermes arrived, golden-winged and gentle-voiced, carrying Zeus's command and Demeter's oceans of tears, Persephone didn't run to him. She stood, slowly, queen straight, and looked at the pomegranate Hades rolled across the table like an afterthought. 6 seeds, red as fresh blood, shining like tiny hearts. She picked it up. She weighed the world above against the world below, and then deliberately, eyes never leaving Hades. She ate 6 seeds, 6 months, a choice, or the memory of one. The fruit bound her, yes, but it also crowned her. Bride of 2 worlds, never again just the maiden core. Now Persephone, dreadful and beautiful. The one, even the dead, fear to disappoint. When she stepped back into daylight, spring exploded like the earth itself had been holding its breath. Flowers punched through frozen ground overnight. Rivers roared awake. Demeter ran barefoot across continents and crushed her daughter so hard the crocuses bruised. But look closer, do you see it? There's a new stillness in Persephone's eyes, a knowledge no spring meadow ever taught her. She smiles for her mother, laughs when the baby goats leap, but sometimes she stares at the horizon, like she's listening to voices the living can't hear. She has seen the dead line up in silence. She has weighed hearts against a feather. She has worn the iron crown that never warms to skin. And every autumn, when the first leaf turns, she kisses Demeter's cheek, walks to the crack in the world, and descends without looking back. Because love isn't only staying. Sometimes love is returning to the dark so the dead don't have to be alone. Down there she is terrifying in her mercy. The Erinyes bow. The judges of the dead wait for her nod. Mothers who murdered children, oath breakers, the worst of us. We kneel and feel her cool hand on the back of our necks. Not cruel, just certain. She is the rustle of poppies at gravesides, the hush when the priestess pours wine on the earth for the forgotten, and every spring, when the first crocus spears the snow, mortals fall to their knees and whisper, "She's coming back." Not the girl who was stolen, the queen who chose. And then there's Dionysus. Gods, Dionysus. Can you even stand how much he hurt to be born? Semele, young and glowing with Zeus's baby, tricked by Hera's sweet old lady disguise into asking the fatal question, "Show me who you really are." Zeus begged her to take it back. She wouldn't. So he came in full glory lightning crown, thunder heartbeat, and the princess burned to ash before she could scream. But Zeus, frantic, snatched the tiny unborn child from the smoking womb and sewed him into his own thigh like a secret pocket of storm. Months later, Dionysus ripped his way out a second time, roaring, already drunk on existence. Twice born, died once, lived twice, and never, ever normal. Hera wanted him dead, of course, sent titans to tear him apart. Yes, the same ones who'd eaten his baby snacks in another story. And they did. Ripped him limb from limb while he shifted shapes trying to escape. Lion, bull, snake, child again. But the heart, his wild beating pomegranate heart, Zeus saved, swallowed, and reborn again. Dionysus burst out laughing. You can't kill what refuses to stay dead. They hid him in the mountains with nymphs who taught him to dance instead of walk straight. He found the grape, crushed it underfoot, tasted the blood of the earth, and laughed until he cried. Then he taught everyone else to do the same. He wandered Phrygia, Thrace, all the way to India, and backtrailing chaos and music. Women left their looms and followed him barefoot, hair flying, eyes rolled white with joy. Maenads. They tore goats apart with bare hands and ate the heart raw, warm and dripping. Because sometimes ecstasy looks exactly like horror. Kings tried to chain him. Cities tried to ban him. Didn't work. Remember Pentheus, young king of Thebes who called him a long-haired fraud and locked up his followers? Dionysus just smiled that slow, sweet, terrible smile, dressed the king up as a woman and whispered, "Go spy on the dancing ladies." The Maenads smelled mortal blood, mistook him for a lion cub, and his own mother, Agave, leading the pack, ripped her son apart like wrapping paper. When the madness cleared, she was holding his head on a stick, still calling for her baby boy to come home for dinner. Dionysus didn't lift a finger. He just watched the king discover what happens when you lock the beast inside the palace instead of letting it out to dance. Eventually he strolled up Olympus like he owned the place. Ivy in his hair, leopard on his shoulder, eyes wine-dark and ancient, and Hestia, gentle Hestia, stood up from the 12th throne and said, "Take it. I never needed it anyway." And just like that, the wildest god took the seat of the quietest one, because the circle had to be complete. Order and frenzy sitting side by side, holding hands. He is the god of theatre masks that let you be someone else for a night, tragedy and comedy born in the same breath. He is the god of wine that heals a broken heart and wrecks a liver in the same swallow. He is the god who blurs the line between ecstasy and terror until you can't tell which is which, and you don't care. Every time you drink too much and cry at a song you don't even like. Every time you dance until your feet bleed and still can't stop. Every time you wear a mask and suddenly feel more honest than you've ever been. That's him kissing your cheek with lips that taste like danger and salvation. And now, the temples are gone. The marble is cracked, the altars cold, the sacred groves cut down for parking lots. Zeus doesn't hurl actual thunderbolts anymore. He lives in the tyrant's raised fist and the father's proud smile. Poseidon is every storm that swallows a ship and every wave that brings a lover home. Athena whispers in the ears of generals and nurses and anyone brave enough to think before swinging. Apollo still burns in every guitar solo and fever dream. Artemis watches from the dark between streetlights. Ares is the adrenaline when the first punch flies and the silence after the last. Hephaestus is the ring of the welder's torch at 3 a.m. Hermes is the ping of a text message at the exact right moment, and the grin of the pickpocket you never saw. Hestia glows in every porch light left on for someone coming home late. Demeter is the smell of turned soil in March and the ache when the crops fail. Persephone walks every hospital hallway at night, cool hand on fevered foreheads, whispering, "Not yet, or soon, but gently." And Dionysus, oh, he's still at every concert, every rave, every wedding where somebody cries during the slow dance, every funeral where people laugh remembering the deceased's worst jokes. He's the reason we still get drunk and tell the truth, still dance like nobody's watching, even when everybody is. The gods never really left. They just stopped wearing laurel and started wearing blue jeans and band t-shirts and nurses' scrubs and soldiers' boots. They moved into the stories we tell around campfires, into the songs we scream in stadiums, into the quiet "I love you" whispered in the dark. They're in every threshold, birth and death, sober and drunk, war and peace, seed and grave. There in the moment you realize joy and grief are the same heartbeat with different names. There in the 6 pomegranate seeds we all swallow sooner or later, binding us to both worlds forever. And when the last human heart stops beating, when the final fire goes out and the last wine is poured on the ground in memory, they'll still be there, because stories don't die. They just wait under the snow like Persephone, laughing, ready to rise again when someone, somewhere, lights a new flame and says, "Tell me the old ones." And the gods lean in, smiling, because they know we never stopped needing them. We just learned to carry them inside. And Dionysus, he's still dancing right now. You can feel him, can't you? In the thump of the bass that rattles your ribs at 2 a.m. In the wild laughter that bursts out of you when the wine hits just right. In the beautiful, terrifying moment when the crowd becomes one living thing and every mask slips. He spins through the revel, through the sweet madness, through the holy ecstasy that rips the world into glittering pieces and stitches it back together stronger, stranger, truer, again and again and again. Some people shrug and say, "Oh, they were never real, just campfire stories to explain lightning and hangovers." But the rest of us, we know better. We feel it in our blood. Those gods weren't just real, they were necessary. They were us, magnified until we couldn't look away. Every jealous rage of Hera, that's us. Every broken-hearted hammer blow of Hephaestus, us. The terrifying mercy of Persephone walking out of the grave, still us. They fought like we fight, loved like we love, betrayed like we betray, forgave, sometimes, like we forgive. And when they demanded worship, it wasn't vanity. It was a desperate invitation. Look up here, see what you could be, what you already are, if you dare to feel everything. The divine was never locked on some cloudy mountain. It was always down here in the dirt under our nails, in the salt of tears and ocean, in the hot rush of blood when we kiss or kill. It still is. Olympus wasn't a location on any map. It was a mirror held high enough for humanity to finally see its own wild, luminous face staring back. Sure, the altars are cold now. No lightning answers when we burn a steak on the backyard grill anymore. The oracles are tourist traps with gift shops. But listen. Really, listen. When the wind howls through the broken columns at Delphi, when moonlight spills silver across a weed-choked temple floor, when someone leans close to a crackling fire and whispers, "Once upon a time, there were gods who looked just like us." Something ancient leans in too. A child's eyes go wide, a heart skips, a shiver runs down every spine in the circle, and for one breathless second, the gods stir. Not in thunder, not in power, but in memory, in wonder, in myth. And that, right there, is their truest immortality. Because as long as we keep telling their stories, as long as we keep dancing when the music hurts, keep loving when it costs everything, keep hoping when winter feels endless, they are alive inside us. Zeus roars in every act of courage. Artemis hunts in every fierce protection of the vulnerable. Persephone rises every single spring. And Dionysus, he's laughing in the dark corners of the club, daring you to lose yourself so you can finally find everything. So let the temples fall. Let the statues crumble. The gods never needed marble, they needed us. And as long as one voice still says their names with awe, as long as one heart still races at the old stories, Olympus stands, not above us, inside us.